Hi there, I'm Ray at 8base, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to use the 8base data builder to create your data schema. By the end of this video, you'll know how to create a table, the different field types that are available, and how to connect tables together to create relationships. Let's get started. For this video, we're going to be creating a web application for the 8base Footy League, which is a recreational soccer league managed by 8base. This application will be used to manage teams, seasons, and games. So the first step in creating a web application is usually to define the data layer by creating your data structure in the database. With an 8base application, this can be done quick and easy. Let's get started by creating our team table. So we can go into the data builder by either clicking data builder here on the home page or clicking the data item on the left. You can see here we already have our users table created for our project. And now we want to create our team table. So we can click add table and give it the name team. Now you can see here we have auto-generated fields. So we already have an ID for each record, a created at, an updated at, and a created by. Now all four of these fields are automatically populated by 8base every time a record is created. Now we want to define our specific fields for our teams. So let's get started by saying we want to create our name field. Every team has to have a name. And we know that name is going to be a text. Now here you can see that we have different options available for our text type. You can have plain, you can have markdown, or you can have HTML. We're using a plain text for the field name. 100 characters I think is a reasonable size for a team name. There's only going to be one team name per team, so we don't allow multiple. We want to give a description here. So we say the name of the team for the league. A team name should be mandatory because every team has a name. And we're not going to concern about ourselves with duplicate values or a default value. Let's click create field. Now we have our name field for our teams. Let's add a kit color field. And so this field here will also say as a text, we're going to limit this down to, let's say 20 characters because no color is generally more than 20 characters. Here for the description, we can say the color of shirts that the team will wear. We're not going to make it mandatory. And we can just click on create field and get our kit color field. Next, we know every team has a different skill level. So we can add skill, and here let's choose a number type because skills are typically, you can range them from 1 to 5, 1 to 10. For our skills, we're going to say 1 to 5. So we want 0 decimal places, a minimum value of 1, maximum value of 5. For our description, we say what skill level the team is at. Click on create field. You can see here, we have to provide a default value because we're working with a number. A default value can be empty, so we didn't need to provide that for our text types, but for a number, you need to have something. So we could say that the default value is 3, which is the middle value for our 1 to 5 options. Finally, each team can generally have a logo. So we want to give them the ability to add a logo to their team. Now this is cool because we can actually choose a file type. With our file type, we actually have the ability to say file or image. And what this does is this provides all of the facilities needed to manage files within your database. So instead of just simply having something like an ID for a file or a link to a file, you can actually manage files with the 8base structure. Finally, there's a couple of things that we're missing here for a team. A team always has a manager. And since a manager could be a user in our system, what we want to do is create an association between a team and a user who's that manager. Now, the way we could do that is simply by dragging and dropping the users table and stating that we want this field to be the manager. Now over here, when we're defining the field, we can say what we want the field name on the user side to be. So here we could say manage teams. And we want to give the ability for a user to be able to manage multiple teams. So we could say allow multiple teams per user. So by doing this, a user can be a manager on multiple teams. Click create field. Finally, a team has more than just a manager. It also has players. So again, we can come over here and we can have multiple associations between the users table and the team table. Now we want to say that this field is for players. And here on the other side, we could just say teams and say we want to allow multiple users per team and multiple teams per user because we want to give the ability for a player to be able to play on multiple teams. Click on create field. And there we go. We pretty much have our team table set up. To take a look at a couple of other fields that are important in the list of field types, we're going to go ahead and create another table, which is our games table. This allows us to associate a team to a game. So here we'll create our games table. We have game. And the first thing that we have for a game is that it's going to be at a certain time. So we'll say time here. And for our date type, we choose date. And then over here for the format, we can choose date, or we could choose date and time. For our description, we will say when the game will be played. We don't want to put it mandatory because when scheduling games, we might not have an actual date and time ready yet. We might just want to list the games out first. So we won't make that mandatory, and we'll click on create field. Next, we know that a game has a home score, which is the home team and what their score was. We also have an away score. So we'll add away score, and we'll give that a number as well. Next, we know that a game has a status. So a game is either not played, it's in progress, or it's completed. So we can add a status field. And for this field, instead of just choosing a text, we can actually go with a switch field. Now the switch field has multiple options. You can do on, off, yes, no, true, false, active or inactive, basically all of the true and false types of fields, but there's also the custom option. And what the custom option does is it allows us to define enumerations for a field directly in the data layer. So that instead of having to manage enumerations in the API layer or in your front end, you can manage them in the data layer and then pull those values from the data layer to whatever layer that you need. So for here, we have our status field, and we're going to say that a status can either be not started, it could be in progress, it could be completed, and there's even the potential for a game to be canceled. Let's say for weather or because something happened to stop the game from being played. So here we've created a switch field that has custom values available for that specific field. Click create field. And finally, we know that a game has both a home team and an away team. So we can do our association here. We could say that we have our home team, and that team will have home games. Now we know that there will be only one home team per game, but a team can have multiple home games. So we do allow multiple games per team. Click create field. And we can do the same with our away team. We type away team. And if you've started typing and you want to actually do an association, you don't necessarily need to drag and drop. You can actually choose table here in the types and then select the table that you want to work with. So here we have our away team, and the association is their away games, multiple games per team, and click on create field. So this is how we can create our data structure on our data layer. And it's important to note that there's a couple of other options here for a table. You can change the name if you want to. You can also add a description. So here we could say the games teams play in their season. And you also have the ability to create an index. So if you have a table that has a lot of data and you want to speed up the performance by adding an index, you can click on add index, give it a name. So here we could say, game status index, and for the fields you choose a status and then click on create. And there we go. We now have an index for our game table. And now you know how to create your data layer inside of the 8base Data Builder. Please like and subscribe for more 8base Academy content. Check out 8base community to talk with developers and 8base engineers. You can find our 8base documentation at the link below, and follow along in 8base Academy to learn more. Thanks for watching, and happy developing.